Hello, friends. There's a very special show on the other side as we celebrate the first 1,000 views of our little show, Talkin' Ball with Bex. 1,000 in just over a month. It's humbling to say the very least. And we thank you for tuning in each and every Sunday and supporting the free recruiting platform at Next from the North and Bexy.com. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so right now. It's totally free. It's not a membership, but it is helping Canadian kids get recruited for free. In the last week alone, I've talked to coaches from Michigan, Boston, North Carolina, West Virginia, California, and Georgia, just to name a few. It's working, my friends, and you can make it work better. All you have to do is click the red button, subscribe to the channel, and you are helping me help kids. So register at Bexy.com if you are an athlete looking to get recruited now, and get ready for a celebration of 1,000 views right now. You're talking ball with bags from gap to gap and coast to coast, and the first milestone show in our very young history. We've been so fortunate to welcome some incredible guests. Blessed, really. And this is the show where we celebrate it right now. This weekend, we wanted to look back on some of the best moments that these amazing folks have brought to the table and brought to the show. So sit back and enjoy a little Talking Ball with Bex milestone show as we celebrate 1,000 views with a look back on some of the best moments so far. It all started 6 weeks ago with one of our favorites and the first future star of Next from the North. Here's Okotoks dog Jose Nunez talking about his life changing experience down in Florida last winter, training with some of the upper echelon stars of the game.
Great. Now you just threw out Justin Verlander, Noah Syndergaard, and Brad Hand, and we're not going anywhere until you tell me about how that all came about and what's it like training with truly the upper echelon of MLB talent.
Yeah, I believe it was end of November, early December. We got shut down again. My Where I live right now is with Lupo, and he has lots of contacts, and he knows a lot of people in the business, right? I went up to him, I sent him a text, and I said, "Hey Lou, I need somewhere to train for a month or so. I have family down south. I wasn't thinking much of it. I was just thinking of a nice little training facility or something. And it just so happened he emailed Cressy Sports Performance and they had an open space. And if you don't know Cressy, Eric Cressy is the director of player health for the New York Yankees. So I didn't really know, right? I didn't know what I was walking into. And I'm my first day there, so I flew to Florida. My first day there, I'm pulling into the lot and just see like Ferraris, like nice Mustangs, um, crazy cars all over the place. I walk in with my uncle, and you know, I see through the glass. It's Ryan Rollison. Ryan Rollison's like part of the Colorado Rockies organization, and he played for Old Miss Rebels, and I'm like maybe this place is legit. And then I walk in, and it's like Max Scherzer's on the wall, Verlander, Syndergaard is training outside, and then like Tristan McKenzie's right there. And really, it was a major league spring training area. It's basically I was for a month part of major league preseason spring training, I guess. Absolutely unreal. Um, you know, going in and out every day and seeing these guys that you watch on TV that don't seem real was absolutely unbelievable. As well as I was there over Christmas break, so um, a bunch of Division One players were there. Nelson Berkwich, Isaiah Thomas from Vanderbilt were there. We had guys from Michigan that throw 98 miles an hour that were there. Um, Absolutely unreal.
Fellow dog and close friend Tag Weeder was on with not one but two former big league hurlers. He talked about repping his province and bringing home gold in the Western Canada Summer Games. Here's Tag Weeder talking a little ball.
I remember winning the zone championship up in Grand Prairie. Definitely a big one for us. We were down to Fort Mac pretty early in the first game, so that was a little bit of a shaky start, but we ended up pulling it together and we had a great tournament. Western Canada Summer Games. It was great experience getting to go there, experience the opening and closing ceremonies, being in that environment, being able to support the province, put that flag on your back, put the Alberta colors on, and watch the other sports, and they come and watch you. And taking home the gold was definitely special at that one.
Our first softball future star also won gold with her Red Deer Rage team. Paige Simpson let us in on the process of joining the Boise State University Broncos.
Yeah, well, it was like usually your sophomore year is like your big year to get seen, but we didn't have a season. So I just really lucked out with like Jason Chatwood. He has a lot of connections, and I just basically give all credit to him for like finding that. So he just like sent out my video. Like I was sending videos out to schools because I couldn't come watch me play, but I was like, we made a video, and so I was just sending it out, and he told me that he sent it to this Boise team, and I was like, oh, like there's this one girl from Red Deer, her name's Kelsey Lawler, and she plays on there, and I was like, oh, Kelsey goes there, right? And then he's like, yeah. So I set up a FaceTime with her and talked to her about it, and she's like, yeah, it's an amazing school. Like, I love the coaches so much. She didn't say anything bad about it. She was just hyping it up, and she was being honest with me. Like, I knew she wasn't gonna lie to me about that, and like a big thing for me is coaches. Like, if I get along with my coaches, like I'm gonna have a good season. It's a really big part for me. And then, so they set up a call with me, and then he's like, yeah, I'd like to do a Zoom call with you and your family sometime. And then a couple weeks later we did that, and he just like did a PowerPoint, kind of showed me around, or just showed us what he did or what they do at Boise. And it's a really like scenic place, it just kind of like reminded me of like just like down here, and like it kind of just like it's like a small town feel to it, they said, even though it's big. But it's like everybody, there's no like major sports teams in Idaho, so everybody's like for the college team. They're all wearing like Broncos merch, and it just like kind of like reminded me of like my roots. I'm like, oh, like I like the small town vibe, and I like everybody cheering for one thing. But so after like the PowerPoint, he gave me my offer, and then he's like, I'll let you think about it. And then the next day I go to school, I'm like talking to Jason, I'm like, it's perfect. Like, I don't know, like, I have no regrets. And he's like, well, call him up right now. And I was like, okay. So I went to my car, and I had to drive to get service. and because there's no service at her school, I don't know. And I was like, hey, I'd like to take up on your offer and be a Bronco. And then they're really excited for me. So yeah, it's just, I have no regrets. It's a perfect school. It's a perfect fit for me.
Two former dogs shared experiences from their time in Okotoks. Here's Calgary Buck Jack Wheatley talking about an unbelievable season, and LSU Eunice superstar catcher Aiden Macris chatting about the impact of his phenomenal family on his development as a ball player and a stellar human being.
Success that you guys had.
Well, I think the reason why we were so successful was because everybody was so close together. Just everybody's best friends on that team, going down, staying in hotels, everybody would be together. Then as soon as you get on the field, all that just connected, and then I think that's what made us win most of those games.
Yeah, I saw it. You know what? It's one of the things I've admired for years about your family, Aiden, is the closeness. You guys always exuded to me just tight knit group. I have a fond memory that I'll share. That I remember going to one of Connor's tournaments and pulling up, and there's you and Mom are playing catch. And Jason and Connor are intently talking about the game that was or was about to be. And, you know, a couple things stood out to me. First of all, your mom had a freaking hose piece, so she could really throw it. I definitely remember that. Second part was just it showed me that you guys were so together. And I've admired that for years. And I'd love you to sort of tell me the influence of that on your progression through the game and outside the game.
Well, you gotta love spending just time with your family, away from everything, right? Like whether it be you're not focused on a game, but you're still around the game. And traveling a lot, you got to take advantage of the days when you're home and actually spend time with them and hang out, and because you don't know when the next time you'll be back home, or you'll actually have some quality time to spend and not be rushing around doing all of that. So it's definitely helps you. It's relaxing. It's fun. It's still something to do, and it's something your parents always want to, is just to hang out with you and do something that you're interested in.
Another awesome catcher from the Red Deer Braves joined the ranks of Next from the North. Here's Gavin Galenza discussing what drives him to don the gear and quarterback his outstanding young Brave team.
What is it about that position that drives you forward?
Yeah, I love, since I was younger, my dad got me into catching, and I mean, ever since he got me into it, I've loved it. I love being the quarterback on the infield and just seeing the full field. And, I like being relied on from the guys, to make that big block if there's a ball in dirt, or throwing out runners, or making your pitcher look good. That's all I'm about. And I mean, it's unreal just being that quarterback, just letting everything know, and just knowing whatever's going on in the field.
What about calling the game? Are you a guy that likes to study the opposing hitters and their tendencies and where you want to frame stuff? Is that something you get into as well?
Yeah, I love studying the game. I mean, I always know my competition. I always like putting shifts on guys, and some people don't like that, but I mean, it's always something I've loved doing, and just knowing about those other players really helps me as a catcher, and helps me study the game more.
That's awesome.
One of our favorite guests so far is a dynamite young hitter from the Utah Valley Wolverines. Ms. Ryan Milliken shared a harrowing experience on her first day at college down on the island of Galveston, Texas.
So, yeah, I've had a crazy 4 years. Like, I've been through the ringer. So, I was in high school at Lambrick, and we have a very good baseball, softball program there. And luckily enough, I had Rocky Vitale, who was my coach throughout high school and travel ball and everything. And so he has many connections, right? So there was a girl who was 2 years older than me. She went to Galveston. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to go straight to a 4-year, go to a university, go to a JUCO. Like, I had no idea. So she said she really liked it at Galveston. So I was like, you know what? Why not? I love Texas. My parents have lived there before. My dad played professional hockey down in the States. So they were like, go to Texas, you'll love it. And I was like, okay, I'm going. It was a very quick decision. Like, I think it happened over a weekend. Like, it was that fast. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Whatever. So I go there, I go to Texas. Everything works out. Went on my visit. It was awesome. I loved the coach. So we get down there. My parents come. My sister comes. And Hurricane Harvey happened. So me, freshman year, coming out of high school, first time I'm going to be away from my parents. I get to Galveston. I'm so excited, moving into my dorms. I'm getting all settled in, unpacking my stuff, and then we get a phone call saying Galveston Island is getting evacuated. And mind you, this is like my first day in Texas.
Good Lord.
So I'm like, well, my parents are here. They're staying in a hotel on the island. Like, what do we do? So it's like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, okay, guys, like, I guess this is goodbye. Like, I'm saying goodbye to my parents the first day they're there, the first day I'm there. They're like, we need to get on a plane. We need to get out of here. We don't want to be stuck. I'm evacuated to a girl's house I've never met before. And I'm like, wow, this is college. Like, this is what's happening. I have 24 hours and I'm already like going through it. So yeah, that was pretty crazy. I mean, that's how my college life started, was a Category 5 hurricane. But I mean, it was pretty cool. I mean, looking back on it, in the moment I was scared, and you know, my parents left and I was like, what do I do? But I mean, looking back, I'm like, wow, I got to say I was in a hurricane. But I mean,
was there any thought they might take you with them?
No, my parents were like, you know what? You're safe. You know, you're evacuated in a good area. They're like, we got to get out of here. I think my mom really wanted to leave. My dad was like trying to watch the storm. He was like, this is so cool. Like, but yeah, my parents, they got out of there. I mean, I don't blame them. I didn't want to be stuck there for 2 weeks in the hotel either. But no, after that, it was pretty much smooth sailings.
2 more world-class softball stars stopped by to chat Tokyo Olympics and so much more. Check out Canadian Olympians Joey Lai and Carissa Hovinga talking about our chances to bring home gold and the people that have helped them get there.
The expectations we have for ourselves are to win a gold medal. And we talk about it. We know that we have it in our soul, that is what we are working for every single day. And at this point, if that's not what we're working for, then what are we doing here? So that's kind of our mentality, is let's shoot for it. And the worst thing that's going to happen is we'll fall short, but best case scenario, we achieve our goal and have an amazing moment in history and bring a gold medal home to Canada. So that's what motivates us every single day, and what we work hard for.
Yeah, I mean, all my American friends definitely, they give me a hard time way back when I initially had started playing with Team Canada, and still get crap nowadays, even now and then. But yeah, so it all kind of started with Lori Sipple, who is the head coach, or one of the assistants at Nebraska, which is where I'm from originally. I was born in Nebraska. My mom was born in Edmonton, Alberta. Born and raised there, and met my dad and then moved to the United States. So that's how I have that dual citizenship. But yes, through Lori Sipple, who coaches at Nebraska now as an assistant and was previously the head coach of the Canadian national team, had found out about my dual citizenship. And so that's kind of how I got involved with the Canadian program. She had kind of heard through the grapevine that I had a mother who was Canadian, and kind of sought me out in high school. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to play on that junior team for a while, and then eventually move up to the senior team, and have been kind of a part of the entire program ever since I was a junior in high school in 2009. And just super fortunate and grateful for all of the opportunities, all the places that I've been able to travel. And yeah, it's been a wild ride, and I've been fortunate enough to play softball past college, and all these other doors have opened up for me, and all these other opportunities. And I like to thank Lori Sipple for honestly the entire thing. Like, it's just kind of unbelievable how knowing one person can open up all these different doors and different opportunities.
One humble request to finish our amazing interview, Joy, as someone who has experienced the pinnacle of sport, and that is to stand atop the podium while the Maple Leaf rises and O Canada plays. Can you give us, and in fact, all young Canadians, just the slightest insight into the euphoric feeling that must be as a group to watch that take place?
Yes. I don't think there are enough words on the planet in the English language to define the feelings in that moment. And I don't know if you noticed, I took a huge deep breath as you started talking about that moment. And for our team to be able to stand on top of the podium and listen to our anthem on home soil with our families and friends and former coaches and former teammates in the stands, it's undescribable. It's just one of those things you dream of, and it almost feels like it's not real, and that you are dreaming. And then it kind of slowly sinks in over time. And watching the video back, looking through some photos from that day, and seeing the emotion of the fans in that moment, seeing the emotion of our pile up when that final pitch was thrown. And it brings the emotions back. You get goosebumps thinking about that. And it motivates us to work for that moment every single day and do our absolute best to feel that again this summer in Tokyo.
The Olympics were just one of the surreal experiences of Mr. Chris Reitsma. Here's a montage of an interview that, quite frankly, I will never, ever forget.
Did you know you were the first Canadian to get called in the first round?
I didn't know that until afterwards. Back in the day, obviously, we didn't have the internet. It wasn't on TV. If that would happen now, you could watch it going down on TV to be like, wow, that's amazing. I remember I was in my living room with my parents, and literally whatever team would pick a kid, they'd actually have to call the landline of the kid and be like, hey man, we took you with the whatever pick, right? So
what's a landline?
Yeah, exactly. So to lead up to it, the night before, I was getting phone calls from a couple different clubs saying, "Hey, we're thinking about taking you with our first pick in the first round, like 13th overall and 21st overall." And the Mets called me and said, "Hey, it's between you and another guy. If we take you with 13 overall, will you sign?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's get this done. I'm ready." And which was great to think about, but then when the phone didn't ring, and it was like, oh man, I know this started a while ago. I'm looking, I'm like, oh, this is not good. So long story short, obviously those teams passed on me, and then I finally got taken. The phone finally rings. Meanwhile, in between that, the dentist would call and whatever. You get random phone calls, and I'd be like, is this it? Oh no, I don't have a molar. Come on, seriously. So finally he called Gary Racich with the Boston Red Sox and told me, and he said, "Hey, congratulations, we're really excited, and I'll be up in Calgary next week to try to, see if we can get this thing done." And I was just overjoyed. I remember just, tears of joy and pretty special moment. And then basically the media was in charge of telling me that it was the first Canadian ever taken in that round. And I was like, holy cow, that's pretty cool. The first experience I had in Fort Myers was right after I signed. It was the day after I graduated high school. They flew me down to Boston, signed the contract, and went down there. And I played in the Gulf Coast League. And I remember I didn't know anybody. I was just like a fish out of water. This Canadian kid, pasty white, down in Florida in the middle of the summer. And I was like, oh man, I just want to keep my head above water. And I remember the first day, man, I get downstairs and I'm so geeked up. Meanwhile, the Chicago Cubs had their Gulf Coast League affiliate in the same hotel that we did. We stayed in the same hotel, but I didn't know anybody. I hopped on the wrong bus. I hopped on the Chicago Cub bus, and they're like, "Hey, man, we don't know you." I'm like, I don't know anybody. My name is Chris. I got dropped by my boss. We're like, "Dude, get off the bus. You get on the wrong bus." I'm like, "Oh, jeez, this is a bad start." Anyway. After that, everything kind of calmed down. I got to meet some people and started learning some Spanish, and was like, wow, this is the new world. Pretty special. So really, really good time. So yeah, I get called in the office in Trenton, New Jersey, and they told me I'm going to the Cincinnati Reds, getting traded for Dante Bichette, Bo Bichette's father. So the Red Sox needed a right-handed power hitter, and the Reds were looking to shed payroll, and so they brought me over. And then they sent me home back to Calgary because it was the very end of the minor league season. Sent me back to Calgary for a couple weeks, and then sent me to the Arizona Fall League, where I pitched very well there. And then the next spring, I made the Reds big league club. and opened some eyes. And I had a chip on my shoulder. I mean, I was the top prospect for the Red Sox for a couple of years before I kept on getting hurt. And I thought, you know what, people have forgot about me, and I had a chip on my shoulder. And I walked into that clubhouse and I said, you know what, I'm looking around. I got Barry Larkin and Ken Griffey Jr. and all these guys. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna just be as best I can possibly be, and whatever happens, happens. And so I kind of went in there with a, you know, there was nothing to lose attitude, and threw the ball really well, and lo and behold, made the club that spring. Well, for one, the Olympic Village is one of the most impressive and fun things I've ever seen. You have all the athletes from all the countries eating food in this massive cafeteria that's literally 300 meters long with every kind of food you can possibly want, and it's 24 hours. And so you're literally walking by and you got 7'2" twins from Latvia and basketball players, and then you got 4'6" little gymnasts that are spinning around you. You're like, well, this is like, am I in the circus? This is crazy. I was able to, you know, see the dream team play. I was able to watch Usain Bolt break the 100-meter record. I was on the finish line with a bunch of teammates, and I have that on tape. I saw some of the most amazing ping pong I've ever seen in my life, just sitting there going, like, well, it was the most amazing ping pong. I saw David Phelps win a bunch of medals swimming. So I got to see a lot of cool stuff, man. And it was so cool because our schedule allowed us to you know, see things, and we'd practice early in the morning and have the rest of the, you know, on an off day, whatever. So I signed up for everything I possibly could, and got to see a lot of really neat stuff. But yeah, it was neat.
Good Lord, Chris. I was expecting maybe one or two, but you just listed off some of the most iconic sports memories in history right there, like Dream Team, Bolt, Michael Phelps. Good Lord, man. And ping pong.
Yeah. I had lunch with Rafael Nadal, believe it or not. True story.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole cafeteria was full, and then there was with this guy sitting there with his trainer, and there was one spot left, and my buddies were on the other side of him, and so I sat down and then I realized who it was, and he's like, who are you? Who do you? I'm like, I'm on the Canadian team. I'm like, what do you do? And meanwhile, I knew it was Rafael Nadal. I was like, Jesus, this is awesome, like one of the best tennis players of all time, right?
World Series champion and legendary storyteller Lou Pote stopped by to share a couple of his very best. Here he is chatting about a couple of Hall of Famers and some incredible stories to go along with.
Yeah, I think it was 2001. I think it was 2001. We're playing, you know, we're at home against Seattle, and we get down to the bullpen before the game, and I remember we did a really good job with him that year, but we also pitched him inside a lot. And I remember one of I think it was Jeff Nelson telling Percival down in the bullpen, he's like, hey, Edgar said if he gets knocked down again, he's charging. And we had Ramon Ortiz pitching that night, and he always threw him in and knocked him down and did pretty well. And we held him in check pretty much for the most part that year. So I come into the game, and you know, I was pretty successful against him, and I would either start him out with you know, cutter away, or you know, two-seamer, backdoor two-seamer, or hard two-seamer in and up. And you know, they call Benji Molina calls, you know, fastball in, and I throw a fastball in, and I think it was 0-0. I'm not 100% sure what the count was, but I think it was an 0-0 count and first pitch to him. And I throw a fastball two seam, and he must have been looking away. He dives to go out to get it, and it runs back in, you know, and it started middle, and it hits him in the hand, and then it hits him in the face, and he goes down like somebody shot him, right? And you know, you get hit in the face with a ball, it's gonna you know, affect you. So so he goes down, and at the time it felt, and I'm just trying to get a new ball. Like I'm yelling at the umpire, and I'm kind of walking towards, and all of a sudden he gets up and he's running and he's sprinting at me, and I just drop my glove, and he's yelling 5 times. And and it was like, he's not the fastest guy in the world. So like it just felt slow motion. And I see Benji's the second slowest guy, or maybe the slowest guy in baseball, and Edgar's the second slowest. So Benji's chasing him, And next thing you know, like swing, I swing. And then all I know is I got probably, I got two teams like on me. And then I can't move. So I'm trying to move and I'm like letting go and then fighting it, let me go. And I'm like, I don't even know who's, I just could see a gray jersey. And then the guy's like, relax, dude, super deep voice. He's like, you just got charged by the nicest man in baseball. And it was Jay Buhner. So,
That was awesome.
Yeah, so I think there was a runner on first. So then, I hit him. And I didn't get thrown out of the game. He got thrown out of the game. I had to go get a new jersey because I had no buttons on my jersey left. I go back out there, throw a couple warm-up pitches, and then first pitch to Olerud, bases or double, bases clearing double.
My good buddy Chris Hunt is the foremost expert in the world of college baseball recruiting. He let us know the process and how it all began with NLI scouting and the Ostrov Hunt Baseball Academy in Boca Chica in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, so I've been involved in all levels of baseball. I was a high school player up here in upstate New York, and I knew right then and there, even then, there's tons of players around me that weren't getting noticed. I'm going, how can this guy not be playing? But didn't think much about it then. Then I played 4 years of college baseball. I've been involved as a general manager of a collegiate summer league team, a college baseball umpire for 8 years. So I've been involved in all levels of baseball at the college level. And as you said, I co-own a professional academy in Boca Chica, Dominican Republic, where we house and train international prospects and get them signed for the international signing period. But what led me to where I'm at now, I got my master's degree in sport management a handful of years ago, and I initially started with National Scouting Report. And, they do a good job. But the one thing I wanted to do was to have scouts that were working only one sport. Okay, I was working multiple sports there, and for me, I couldn't develop relationships in the sport that I was not, the expert in. So when I started NLI, the philosophy was scouts are going to work. If you're a baseball guy, obviously you're working baseball. You're not doing softball and hockey and football and so forth. But the need for this has been around for decades, if not, for many decades. Most kids think they're a D1 athlete when they have no idea what that even means, but because it looks good on social media, they assume they're going to be a D1 athlete, and obviously the majority of them never will be. And unfortunately, a lot of them fall through the cracks and don't even play college baseball at all when they have an opportunity to do so, but they don't know how the process works. So, that's my passion, is to educate people first and foremost about how this works, including moms and dads, and then being black and white when I evaluate their projectability and tell them, hey, Betsy, your skill set for me dictates that I'm going to be talking to D3 schools or whatever the case might be. And if they're on board with that, then we move forward and get them realistically identified, which leads to getting actively recruited by the correct schools, not what I call bumper sticker chasing to, produce a good looking tweet.
Quite possibly the best hitter to ever come from the province of Alberta. And current Cincinnati Red Matt Lloyd stopped by to talk about everything pro baseball. He shared his experience the day he heard the news. He was realizing his dream and heading off to the Cincinnati Reds. Here's Matt Lloyd talking ball with Bex.
Talk about June 19. Where were you? How'd you find out? Talk about your feelings. Of course, they're euphoric, but give us some insight into that moment that you found out you were going to realize your dream and head to the bigs.
Yeah. So I was in Bloomington still. Our season was over, and just some of the guys were just kind of literally just waiting for the draft to happen and, see where they're going to go, basically see where their life's going to go for it's just an unknown waiting for that, especially because the year before it was literally just waiting and not having my name called. So it's a stressful stretch of days. But so I was out to breakfast with a few of my teammates, just just trying to keep our minds off of it. And the next thing you know, I'm getting a text from one of my teammates that wasn't there, and it was just basically saying congrats and stuff. And I didn't get a phone call or anything, which is crazy. So I hop on Twitter, and I got the draft tracker looking, and I just see my name is called. So didn't hear from the Reds until literally like 7 p.m. that night. So it was just a bunch of texts flooding in from a bunch of people. And yeah, it was just a great feeling. It was just weird because it was just normal. Like, I was just out, literally sitting at getting breakfast. And yeah, it was just wild experience.
It was an absolute honor to talk with Canadian softball legend and Olympic team captain Victoria Hayward. One of my favorite parts of the show so far has been learning everything I can about the incredible organization Athletes Unlimited. As Miss Hayward was the first athlete to sign with this organization, she shared everything and gave us the insider edition of all things Athletes Unlimited.
Yeah, Athletes Unlimited, it's pretty incredible. So it's an organization of professional sports leagues for women. So right now we stand at 3 sports currently and aim to grow to many more sports and potentially even dabble on the men's side with men's sports. But it's completely just revolutionizing what we know as professional sports and how fans engage with their favorite players. So in November of 2019, I got a call about going to learn more. So I flew up to New York with a few other softball players and heard this pitch. And I've been around the game for a few years, and I've heard people wanting to pitch different leagues and have these ideas, and it's all awesome for the sport, but the research and the investment that had already gone into what Athletes Unlimited was going to become. I mean, it was founded in market research and identifying what fans were doing now and just trends of what consumers were doing. And I was shocked. I had no idea that I knew that it hadn't been done before, the model that they were suggesting, but I also knew that no one had the resources like Jonathan Soros and John Patrickhoff had, our 2 founders. And so I went away from that meeting knowing that whether or not it was going to work or it was going to hit off, I knew it could be incredible, and I knew I wanted to be a part of it. So I think like 2 weeks after learning all about it and understanding it, I was offered a contract and signed it that day. And then our long journey of kind of developing what the league would be began. So three other players and I really decided every single thing that was going to happen in the league with the help of Sherry Kempf, who was the MPF commissioner, our old professional league, and had then moved over into a consulting role. So I began as a consultant for Athletes Unlimited, deciding how many people we wanted, what we wanted the structure to look like. I mean, the general idea of certain number of people in a single place, doing all of that had been decided, but rules we wanted to play with, who we wanted to be involved, the policies and procedures, we created it all, and really had the ability to create something exactly the way we wanted it based on everything we'd learned from college and professional and international experience, and just try to create something that was going to be consistent and provide more people opportunities to really experience life as a professional and give people something to aspire to be. So then COVID hit and things were going crazy, but sports started adapting the model that we already had. So we were all systems go. We never skipped a beat. We were basically set up for a COVID world before you needed to be set up for a COVID world. So in that sense, things were relatively easy. But we really, I mean, I can't speak enough about the player group we had in that first season. Everyone was willing to sign up for something that they had no idea. I mean, we tried to pitch it, but even then we didn't know exactly what it would be like. We had this idea of what we wanted to be, but we couldn't guarantee anything but I mean, I was able to get great players like Carissa and Joey just because they trust me and who I am, and I was able to share the vision that we wanted to create with them. And so every single person in season 1 was so instrumental in creating AU to be exactly what it was that year. And we just finished an amazing volleyball season, and we're about to embark on lacrosse in a month or two. But it was incredible. I mean, it was everything that all the softball community needed at the time. It was uplifting. It was empowering. It was bigger than just softball. And then on top of that, the quality of the softball was great, and people got to know people that they'd never played against, they never played with, always against. And it was just, I think it was great for our softball community, and I'm looking forward to continuing to build it. So I am continuing to be the chairperson of our player executive committee. So continuing to meet weekly about how we can improve what we like, recruiting new players. Currently, I'm working on a 2021 college draft of players that will be invited to the next season of Athletes Unlimited, and just continuing to build it. And it's challenging in so many ways. I have to put kind of my own preferences and sometimes my own biases aside just to do what I think is best for the sport and for Athletes Unlimited. So it's challenged me in a lot of ways, but I'm so honored to be a part of it and to play in season 2 and just to continue to provide more people with the opportunity. And then, of course, I mean, to medal in it was just, to win 3rd place was like the storybook ending to just a crazy journey. I could not have written that better myself. Like, it was one of the best days. Danielle Laurie was calling the game, so she was there to celebrate it with me, as well as Joey and Carissa and KJ. So it was incredibly special. And I mean, I don't know if any next season could live up to what season 1 was. Truly, it's something we'll never forget. But yeah, it was incredible.
Finally, there's my guy, and a truly legendary human being. Enjoy a minute with Alan Cox, and if you can, take him up on the offer at the end of his interview. You surely won't regret it. Here's Alan Cox, one of my absolute favorite people on this planet.
So what in the world led you to Okotoks, Alberta, Canada? I got to know the story.
Yeah, and it's Frank Ingram, kind of. It comes back to Frank. Everything, it's like the Kevin Bacon game. Everybody comes back to Frank Ingram. I was coaching at Kentucky Wesleyan College. I think I just took the Catholic job at Owensboro Catholic. Won a couple small school state championships, had a good group that came up through the academy. And I applied at Regina Red Sox the very first year that they brought their team back in the WNBL. And I got that job as the head job. And it was the first year, so we weren't very good. 22 fresh. Kip Simon out there was on the team. Frank Ingram, a bunch of other guys that, that it was a really good group, but we weren't very good at baseball. And the Regina's come a long way since then, and big powerhouse now up there. But then I met Frank. He was on the team. And then he called me when I went back to coach at Kentucky Wesleyan College because I was making that transfer back to college ball because the good group through Catholic left. And so I was like, I got to go back to college. And so Frank calls and Brett Thomas and they're up there at the Dogs. And they're like, can you come up and be a guest coach? And I think it was 2010, October 2010, I came up and was a guest coach. And then 2011 in February, got a call from those guys and they asked if I wanted a full-time job. And I'm like, yeah, coach baseball all day long at this place. Like the Okotoks, like you couldn't imagine when I told my family, we're going to Okotoks, Alberta and driving all the way up through after we'd been to Regina with that kind of summer. And, but I came up in February and the family followed in June. And long story short, we spent 9 years there and it was unbelievable. I got to raise my kids there and I owe the Dogs, a lot of
me coming through and learning, and to work for John Arcandia, who's the most passionate guy and one of the best bosses that pushes you, through and put us in a real good situation where I didn't have to worry about my family, and they got to go to school, and I'm grateful to them for that opportunity.
Yeah, do me a quick recreation of Angie's face when you said you were moving to Okotoks, Alberta.
Like, yeah, something like that. Like, yep, that's about right.
I can see it.
And a woman who loves the sun and her family. I took them away from both of those. So now that's why. Long story short, that's why we're at the beach.
Yeah,
25 years of this crap, So
oh, man, that's awesome. Hey, talk about the early years of the Dogs, Alan. You got involved with John, obviously. Guys like Pablo were around. Will, you met Mike Rose and the Mr. Seaman. At what point did you know there was something special on the horizon and that this thing was going to explode as it has over the years?
I would say the first time I watched a college summer game. I'd been in college summers before. I'd coached a couple. And it's when I watched that crowd the first night, I was like, and I knew before because, when you moving your whole family somewhere that far away from their family and from the sun and everything, you're from good weather. It had to be something that triggered that to begin with. And, in facilities don't win championships, people do. And, there's a lot of good people that I met through there. Like you said, some great names, Mike Rose and with John and the Seaman family and all those guys. And I didn't get too involved in all that. I was coaching baseball and we're so in tune to that, but I saw what was going on. But really when I, saw that college summer thing kick off and realized how cool that was in a town like that, it really, intrigued me to just be like, wow, okay. And then it was easy after that to sell. I brought the family up in the summer, the good weather, the big crowds. It was a really good fit.
When you knew for sure, and then the evolution of this program has continued to go. It's on and on and on, and as it gets bigger and bigger. What do you attribute the success going forward to this program? It's where I reside as well as in the world of baseball, and I wouldn't have it any other way. One final question for you, my friend, and think about it for a second, and give me your finest memory of Okotoks, Alberta.
Wow, there was so many, man. That's tough. Woo. I don't know if it was just one moment, but maybe just the family, just the friends and family of everybody that, probably the night I was leaving, that dinner that they put together and the people that showed up that you haven't seen for a long time, that was touching, because you do a lot for, and your family suffers, all those years and you're gone all the time. And, you get a thank you like that is, of course it doesn't happen. Back in the day when 15 years ago, it would have been, oh man, when we hit that home run to win the game and blah, blah, blah. But, as you get older, you start getting a little more soft and sentimental, and you realize that the people that, paved the way, and being able to come down here and leave, that was tough, and it's actually a plus for me because now my family's around family and we're at the beach and it's sunny. And not to say it was a good thing that I left, but it was a really good thing and we're in a really good place. And so, but yeah, probably just the family, the Dogs family.
I remember a tearful goodbye that I had with you in the lobby of Duvernay Fieldhouse, and I speak for, I'm sure, every single one of the Dogs family that I'm sure are watching this episode, and we miss you, buddy. I'm so glad that you are in such a great place and that you're with your fam, and you should play a little golf, definitely. Get off the baseball field once in a while, my friend. And
hey, this is an invite to anybody up there. We got room and we're at the beach. So when you guys get out and you're allowed to go out of your country, come on down.
What a great start it's been, my friends. Everything we've done so far in just a little over a month has surpassed expectations. We're so thankful for the amazing guests who've already stopped by and so excited for the unbelievable people who are coming up so very soon. Future stars like Luke Wilson, Tugboat, and Sinclair Lee from the island. The launch of Area Scouts Canada featuring CEO Lance Baldwin with superstars from the world of softball and baseball like Alyssa Reyna and Freddie McGriff. Yes, sir, Freddie McGriff. Agent from sports' hottest new agency, Luba Sports, Lizette Carnett will be stopping by, and former Okotoks dog and current Minnesota Twin catcher, LaRon Smith. Former Toronto Blue Jays like Rob Ducey, and current MLB All-Star Atlanta Brave pitcher Mike Soroka. That's right, Mike Soroka, coming by to talk a little ball with Bex. There's 1,000 down, my friends, and we start the journey towards 2,000 right here, right now, and each and every Sunday, 5 Eastern, 3 o'clock in the mountains. We're talking ball with Bex from gap to gap and coast to coast. We'll see you next week, my friends, and thanks a lot for stopping by.
Thank you. It means a lot. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. Totally awesome.
I appreciate that, and you're doing one hell of a job, Bex. You keep it up, and I'm proud of you. And reach out to me whenever you want to. But you're doing a great job.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm so honored and appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Thank you so much. This has been an awesome conversation. These fill my bucket too. So thank you for having me and letting me share a little bit of who I am. But I love your podcast and everything you're doing for the sport.
Thanks a lot, Bex.
All right, buddy. Cheers.
Cheers.